Go, go, go. Spinning, spinning. All right. Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of Business Learning Lab, where Meredith and I share our many missteps, failures, mistakes, and bad decisions in business to hopefully save you from making the same mistakes we made. This week, though, we're talking about when it's time to hire your virtual assistant as an employee. And I chose this topic because most business, well, not most, I don't know if it's most, but many business owners, their first hire is a virtual assistant. And virtual assistants, by definition, are independent contractors. But eventually, there comes a time when you need to hire an employee. We can talk about some indicators of that today. But I always think that hiring your virtual assistant, if that relationship can be set up in such a way to make that transition successful, is really smart because you've established a great relationship, a working relationship, hopefully, and it almost seems like a very natural progression. At least it can be if certain things are put in place. What do you think, Meredith?
Yeah, I agree completely. And the whole process of bringing on team members, of hiring, whether it's hiring for short-term, long-term, 1099 W-2, it's all very easily overwhelming. There feels like there's a lot at stake because there is a lot at stake. This is a huge, step forward for your company. And how do you know, and if you've already built a relationship with somebody who's like a 1099, you want to bring them on as an employee, like I think it makes so much sense and is a really great place to start that process because you already have a relationship, you've already seen their work product, you already know they fit with your culture, all that kind of stuff. So it totally makes sense that that's the place to start. So but I think one potential obstacle you could run into is if they don't want to be hired. You don't always know that going in. If they do want to come on as a full-time employee.
Yeah, I think it's great to have these conversations up front if you're a business owner that likes to plan, and hopefully you like to plan because I think that's part of business success is looking ahead and making future plans for your company. But if you think there's a chance, it could be part of your vetting process to see if the person you're bringing on is at least interested in that sort of career path, and if they would be, willing to be so invested with you. And my first, companies, virtual assistants weren't really a thing, and I wish they were. But this concept of hiring your VA sort of landed in our laps because being a virtual assistant agency, what we just ended up organically seeing is that when we always make great VA placements between our VAs and our clients, and because of that great placement and those great relationships, we started getting requests from our clients wondering if they could hire their virtual assistant because they wanted to make them a more permanent member of their team. And that opened our eyes up to one, like a way to service our clients better as their businesses were evolving. But also it was like light bulb moment, like this is such an ideal situation to use a VA when your company is not quite ready to do that employment hire. Maybe you don't have enough hours, or you're a certain size, you can't provide a regular salary or pay. But then as your business grows and your needs expand, path of least resistance is to turn to your VA and offer them a permanent position on your team. One thing we look for, with our clients who are looking to hire a virtual assistant is the flexibility in their work environment. So we only place remote workers, and we work with stay-at-home moms, and family is a priority. So that flexible work environment is, a non-negotiable. So luckily, more and more companies are understanding that they can have great talent while also providing a flexible work environment. For those companies that are, progressive like that, they are going to attract the best talent.
Absolutely. And again, go back to like where we've learned our lesson, the one detail you left out was how we stumbled into this having needing to have a plan was we did have a client early on ask if they could hire their VA, and the VA said, no, I don't want to be hired. I want to keep having multiple clients and sort of, having freedom over my life. So from that, we realized that we needed a plan. We started asking every spirit when they came in, when they first onboarded, if they would be interested in a full-time position or just not even full-time, but just being hired on to a company should the opportunity arise. So now we have an ability to divide up our talent pool and know who is interested and who isn't, so that should a employer start down that path, that we can make sure that it ends with everybody happily having a good fit and a good employment.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. And once you make that first employment, if it's your first employment hire, I think hiring your VA, if that you can make that happen, makes a lot of sense. And we're our motto, always be delegating. And when it comes to hiring your next hire, and you want to start duplicating yourself, then you already have your first hire in place. They might have a different set of responsibilities than your other hires, but they could certainly help with that whole process of onboarding new employees. So I feel like that's just such a big step, big growth step for women business owners when they can move forward in that way.
Absolutely. And, one of the other reasons that we decided to start the VA to hire program was because we're already doing all the vetting. That's one of the main value adds that we provide is, you're running your business, you're an expert in whatever industry, you're not necessarily an expert in interviewing, vetting, understanding what makes a good candidate. We're already doing that for your VA placements. So let's go ahead and we'll do that for actual W-2 hires. And then you'll test it out. So our program is based on the idea that they'll be your virtual assistant for 3 months, which is sort of like a 3-month interview so that you can get to know each other good. And it's so what we've learned is that is so much more effective and a much, much, much better indicator of fit than a 1-hour Zoom interview that most employers do when they're hiring someone, or some reference checks. So that's what we do. We're experts at that. You're not. You're an expert at running your business and doing whatever your industry is. And so that was how we applied that lesson into building this program as well.
It's so true. It's also true. So, before we leave today, I want to just go over some, indicators that it might be time to hire your VA or consider an employee even over a contractor. And one of those indicators for me, from our clients, is if they want somebody that's dedicated to them and only them. They don't want them to work for other businesses because they want their dedicated attention. I think that's one indicator. The next indicator is if they want to dictate a schedule, like hours, specific hours that they're working, and if they want to have say or control over how the work specifically is completed. So if you just need a little bit more say in those things, then it probably is time to transition from contractor to employee, because by definition of independent contractor, that word independent is there for a reason. They, if you start treating them like employees by asking them, it might be the IRS that makes the decision for you. So it's really important to understand the different roles that a contractor versus an employee can play, and how they serve your business differently. So those are big indicators for me that it's time.
Yeah. I agree. And, the whole difference between employee and independent contractor can be confusing. And there are some very fine lines between what side you're on. So if you are thinking about this and you're trying to decide and you're confused, just ask us. Post, reply on this video, send us an email, we're happy to talk to you. Just share our knowledge because, again, this is an area we've had to become experts in. That was the very first thing we did when we started Sparent, was we learned very much what the IRS rules were, how that plays out, because sometimes it's not super clear. We had an employment lawyer who helped us to really understand how to stay on the right side of the line. And some stuff is very obvious, like you can't dictate their hours, you can't put a lot of requirements on them. Some stuff is very subtle and very small, and it has to do with like how their email address is set up and things like that. So
yeah, there are some nuances for sure. And I will link, we just put out a blog post called do you really need a VA? And it talks a little bit about this, and there's some great links to IRS resources. Always consult, your tax professional and your employment law professional for their advice. We're not attorneys and we're not tax people. We're just, this is our personal experience, but you have to see how these laws apply to you specifically to make a determination for yourself.
Absolutely. But it can make all the difference. And so if you're curious, you're wondering, what's the right move for you, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always happy to talk about that kind of stuff.
Call us. Anyway, thank you. We will be back next week with another exciting Business Lab topic. Please share comments and subscribe to us on YouTube. We would so appreciate it. Bye.